Anybody?
You guys are doing the run period, pretty much the heavy run period down there.
Yeah. What'd you say?
How do you feel like it went?
Without looking at the tape, I thought we hit some good runs. We creased a few. I think we had a slow start, just getting used to the tempo of the drill and the speed with defense in there. That was our first interaction day, so it was, a little bit of adjustment getting used to the speed of it. But it was, as we got into it, was pretty good. We had some good runs. We're, rolling some backs in there, and I think each of them had, they had some good looks.
Do you think the heat affected the offense at all today?
I think everybody felt it a little bit, but we're going to play in it, so we've got to get used to it. I think you get into the dog days of camp a little bit on day 5 and 6, and right in here is when it's, everybody starts great, a lot of energy. It was a little cooler. You get a little tired as the camp wears on, and probably showed a little bit today, but they got to fight through that. Everybody's got to fight through that.
Danny, we were just talking to Riker over there. I know sometimes quarterbacks come and go through programs, but he's in his 5th year. He's stuck around, and it seems like a good backup option for you. What can you say about where he's at, how you've seen him grow, and just?
I love how he worked through the winter, spring, into the summer. I think he's in his best shape of his life. He brags about it, so he feels good about it. But I think he looks good. He's throwing the ball well. I think he's doing a nice job, has done a nice job through the spring studying. I think he's a lot more comfortable, calling a play, executing the whole play, getting guys lined up right, all of it. He just looks a lot further along.
I know there were some plays you'd obviously want back from that Purdue game, but was there enough upside in that you saw, like, this is the guy we...
Yeah, I think there were a handful of plays that you really wanted back. Besides those plays, I thought he was pretty good. We got down and really kind of had to play fast and threw a lot at him trying to get back into that game, and I thought he responded and made some plays. I think in a different game, a better run game early in a closer game, it would have taken a little bit of pressure off of him. But I thought he went in there and played well for not playing very much, especially for us.
It's kind of a good problem to have, as many weapons as you've got, as many running backs and tight ends and wide receivers. But how do you get your arms around the fact that you have so many players that you can utilize, and you also have a head coach who likes to be creative? So, how do you get your arms around that whole process while trying to be diverse, but also trying to pare down the playbook?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have to have a good menu for each guy. You have to make sure we have plays that we say we got to get Seathan the ball, and this is how we're going to get it to him. Same with Brandon, same with Zoe. You got Stan in there, the backs. I think that's a good problem. So I just think it's being organized, making sure you have a good menu for each player, and then how it fits into the game plan. Make sure you can formation it. You want to be able to get the ball to a specific guy. You got to make sure you move him so he's not double covered, or you want to get the ball to the backs in different ways in their style of running. So you got to make sure you got Terrell in the game. It might be a little different run than a Zigbo, and then again with Wilbon. So I just think you have to be organized about what you're trying to do with each guy, and make sure you have a good menu, and then you got to find ways to exploit the defense, and how are you going to get those guys in the position to make those plays.
How do you balance, they can't stop this, so we're going to do it 9 times in a row, and they can't stop this, but we want to be diverse for future games, or even for the context of this?
Yeah, I think it's having unselfish guys. I think if we're running a play and it's working great and we're going to stick with it, and it's newbie on a zone run, then you're going to get it over and over, and you might not have as many balls to Brandon. And he's got to know that and be unselfish. If they're stopping the inside zone and the tight end's open, Seathan's going to be featured. So those guys have to know that we're going to find different ways to get them the ball, and there are going to be some games that game plan's limited or smaller, because it's like UCLA. We didn't run as many different plays in that game. We repeated a lot of plays. It worked, so we stuck with it, and that's that's a good thing for us. But it's gonna take some balls or carries or touches away from some other guys.
When you think of pass catching tight ends, you think of Stephen on this team. How are the other Foster and younger guys involved?
Yeah, and Sam Cotton too. He's a good player. He's got good hands. He runs good routes. We talk a lot about Sethan. And Sam's kind of the on-the-line tight end, and Sethan's the off-the-line move guy when they're both in the game. But there are plays for Sam too. And Trey's kind of backing up both positions. He's a smart guy that gives us some toughness on the line and gives us some route running ability. And I like Hoppus. I think that's his strength, is running down the field and catching the ball. He's got to play more physical up front, especially in the run game, but he's coming along. So I think that's a good group with those four guys for sure right now.
Danny, where are the backs at as pass catchers now compared to last year when you first saw them, in terms of you guys wanted probably something different than maybe they were taught before? How have they kind of come along there?
Yeah, I think Newbie is really a natural catcher. Wilbon too. I think Divine's really improved in that. I think that's shown up the last few days. We've thrown some balls to all three of them out of the backfield, and it's looked good to all three of them. I do think Divine is worked on his hands and looks more natural catching the ball, where that was probably more of a strength of Mikhail and Terrell.
You've talked Tommy check downs.
Yeah.
A lot. They have to be
Big part of
good,
it.
good efficient at it.
It just is so much better in terms of not forcing the ball down the field. They're dropping guys into coverage. We're not trying to jam a ball in there. We're going to check the ball down and get it a 4-yard completion that turns into an 8-yard gain. That's a big part of that, especially in the vertical game. If you can do a good job of looking down the field and then checking that ball down, there's a lot of yards there. So that's going to be an important part of what we do, and especially for those three guys out of the backfield, being able to catch and then make a play after they catch the ball.
Those three backs, have they made a jump developmentally since last year?
Yeah, I think all three of them have, and it's a good problem. We're repping all three of them really evenly. I don't think anybody's really stood out. I think they all do some things well, and as we keep going, we're going to feature some guys in different types of runs because of that, but they're all three playing real well. I think it'll sort itself out a little bit more as we get into some more pass protection, but right now I like where they're at.
Is Trey Bryant an option for, is he somebody you'd like to maybe keep for sure?
Yeah, right now it's hard to tell because he's shown some good stuff, but with three good ones, it's going to be hard to crack that lineup, but he's done some things on special teams too, so we're not counting him out. We're going to look at him closely and give him enough to work to see, okay, are we going to redshirt him or are we going to play him?
Is there any of those other freshmen that catch your eyeball at this point, other than Graham, which we saw him this year?
Yeah, Grimm being here for the spring has been a big advantage for him. I think he's pushing to play. Off the top of my head on offense, maybe a lineman or two, but it's a little early to tell.
What's going to plan with Lee over the next couple of weeks? I know Tanner, he's obviously not going to play this year, but how do you kind of bring him along?
Yeah, we're not giving him reps in the varsity group just because of eligibility, but we're getting him some work after practice with the young guys, the new young guys we call it, and so there's some freshmen, there's some new guys that have come here. He's getting work that way. He's getting a lot of individual work, both in the one-on-ones and then our individual time. So it's just a matter of him getting comfortable with what we're doing so that he can continue to learn through the season and then be ready to go in the winter.
Is he showing up as you would expect?
Yeah, he looks like a veteran guy that's played 3 years of college football. He just steps in the huddle. He's really a sharp guy. He's had no problem picking things up. He doesn't look like a young guy. He's a new guy to our team, but he looks like a veteran. So I'm really excited about him going forward.
How did you think Tommy looked in 7-7?
I thought early we missed some number 2 throws in the progression. Number 1, if it wasn't good getting on the number 2, we probably missed that a few times, especially early on. I thought he settled down a little bit as we got into it, but early on, especially just being the first interaction with the speed of the defense, I don't think we probably hit as many throws as we need to, but I thought he calmed down as we got into practice further.
the guys being in full pads now? Is the level of physicality where you want it to be right now?
Yeah, I thought it was spirited today. I thought that was good. You know, I think they've been itching to get the pads on. We've been doing a lot of things on air, some walkthroughs. You know, without the interaction, we're kind of beating on each other on the offensive side. So just being able to go against the defense was good. And I think we have a physical group. I think that shows up in the line. I think that will help our run game. But you got some tough guys up front, especially, and I think that showed, especially in the middle drill.
One more question about just that interplay between you and Riley. So after the season, did you kind of say, we got to run the ball more, figure out a plan to do that? Or was it more of a, well, that worked against UCLA, so we better try to incorporate? Like, how was because you're both play callers, right? I mean, he did it for 20 years, you've done it for 10. How did that sort of process play itself out?
Yeah, I think we looked at the whole season and there were games where we weren't nearly as effective running as we have to be. I think that you got to look at each game separately and then kind of bring it all together as a whole. And we do have to run the ball better. There's no question. We talked at length about that and how we can do that, whether it's technique or type of run or amount. That we look at everything. And then, we want to make sure and be able to run the ball better and take care of the ball, the turnovers, and cut down the penalties. And those have been the three big emphasis from the off season. So we self-scout everything we do. So there's got to be improvement. There's always improvement. I think that's been a big focus, is just how do we run the ball better, and in what ways can we do it, whether it's formation, personnel, or the type of run we're running. So that has been a big emphasis for us. We got to tell all of our opponents we're going to throw the ball 60 times and then run the ball well.
So did you have like a big run the ball summit where like everybody got in the room and like, how do we do that?
We really do. We take that winter time. That's a lot of study time, both ourselves and other teams, and how can we be better, and how can we get more production out of that in everything we do. So obviously the runs was a big emphasis, but the screen game's got to improve. We got to have better protection. We got to complete more passes and throw less interceptions.